Hello everyone, welcome back to the GT Improvement class. We are working on part 13. I thought I was going to do a quiz for part 13, but I forgot I needed to discuss the concept of rounding. So then part 14 we'll do our quiz about everything we've covered so far. Okay, so let's go to rounding. Let's talk about, before we go into rounding, we need to talk real quick about place value. Let's take a random number like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If we look at 123, we know the 1 is in the hundreds place, we know the 2 is in the tens place, and the 3 is in the ones place. So I'm just going to write that real quick down. Hundreds, tens, ones. Now, to the right of the decimal, we have our decimal place value. The 4 is in the tenths place. What we do with our decimals is we simply add a th to the end, but it doesn't start with ones, it starts with tenths. So the 4 is in the tenths place. The 5 is in the hundredths place. Sorry, I hope you can see that. Hundredths place is the 5. The 6 is in the thousandths place. And then we would go 10 thousandths, and then we would go 100 thousandths, and so on and so forth. But you don't really need to know beyond that for this particular test. From what I've seen, it pretty much almost stops right at the thousandths part. Okay, so let's talk about how we round. First of all, let's start with the nearest whole number. So let's say you had borrowed money from a friend and you wanted to pay them back, so you wanted to just kind of round. Rather than give them $108.20, they were cool with you rounding to the nearest whole number. So the nearest whole number, well, my whole number in this case is 108. So let's get rid of that 20 cents. Would I go up to $109 to round, or would I just stay at 108? The rule for rounding is if the digit to the right of the place that you are rounding if the digit is between 0 and 4, it stays the same. Hello. And then if the digit is between 5 and 9, you bump it up. You bump it up. So in this case, the digit to the right of the place I am rounding is a 2. That means it stays the same. So this would be rounded to the nearest whole number of 108. Okay, let's say you owe your friend $32.60 and you wanted to round. In this case, the digit to the right is a 6. That's between 5 and 9. So you would bump this up to $33. Okay, and then for number 3, if we were rounding, this is between 5 and 9, you would bump this digit up. Sorry, let me circle this one. You would bump this digit up. Now this is tricky. You would bump it up to the next number up, which would be 0. But if you bump it up to 0, you also have to accommodate for that with the next digit over. That would become a 7. So you basically went from 69 to 70. So this would round up to 42.70. So if the digit is between 0 and 4, it stays the same. Between 5 and 9, you bump it up. Let's do to the nearest tenth. So the tenths place we just talked about up here. The tenths place is the first digit to the right of the decimal. So in this case, the 2 is in the tenths place. If I am rounding to the nearest tenth, I am looking at the number to the right of my decimal. That is going to tell me how I am going to round this number. So it's between 5 and 9, so this gets bumped up to 6.3. And when we're rounding, we change, instead of an equal sign, we use these little kind of squiggly equals. All right, see if you can do the next one. To the nearest tenth. So in this case, it would have been up to $1 because if you round it up, this digit would have had to go up to a 0. And then when you do that, remember we have to accommodate for the next digit to go up by 1. So it basically went from 9 to 10. Okay? So if you have a 9 that you're bumping up and it goes to a 0, you need to change the next number over as well to 1 up. All right, 13.79. Digit to the right is a 9. So that digit is going to get bumped to 13.8. Okay, so the rule is if it says round to the nearest tenth, you look at the digit to the right of that place value and then follow your 0 to 4, 5 to 9 rule. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple to work on. These are to the nearest hundredth, and the hundredth would be this 7 is in the hundredths place. Okay, so go ahead and pause your video and see if you can complete those 3. All right, so looking at the nearest hundredth, digit to the right is a 4. That means this is going to stay the same. Looking at this one, digit is a 2. This number is also going to stay the same. And then if we look at this one, this is a 5. That means this is going to get bumped up to a 0. And if that gets bumped up to 0, then that needs to get bumped up to an 8. So this would be 0.80. Okay, so that's a quick mini lesson on rounding. All right, your next video is going to be a review of everything that we've covered so far. All right, see you there.